Welcome to Biff's Mystery Theater. I have many tales to tell you. Ghost stories, murder stories, and tales that will make your bones chill. Join me, won't you? For Theater of the Mind, where you always have the best seat in the house. Now close your eyes and turn off the lights.
Suspense. And the producer of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, the master of mystery and adventure, William N. Robeson.
Am I my brother's keeper? Has often been the agonized cry of mankind when the troubles of his fellows have been heaped upon his shoulders. Our story tells of a man who was not his brother's keeper, but who was designed to be his brother's corpse, and it requires one actor to play identical twins. Now, dual identity roles are difficult enough in the visual medium, but they can be solved by technical tricks. In radio, they depend completely on the vocal skill of the actor. That is why we have asked one of radio's finest actors, Mr. Carl Swenson, to complete this assignment. Listen then as Mr. Swenson stars in The $5 Tip, which begins in exactly 1 minute.
Another visit with Joe and Daphne Forsythe.
Joe,
Yeah, Daphne.
you think I should go on a diet?
No.
But I'm adding weight.
Only in the right places.
Flatterer. Seriously, if I put on any more pounds, I'll be out of style.
What style?
The current one. It calls for that slim, chic look.
The beanpole look, you mean. Boy, I don't get it. Here we are, citizens of the healthiest country on earth, with hundreds of different kinds of good food. And what are Americans doing? They're starving themselves.
Well, it's fashionable. I don't want you to lose interest in my figure.
Don't worry, I won't. Say, speaking of that, look at this. Here's a figure with real interest.
Oh?
$45 billion. It says here in the paper that the investment in United States savings bonds has reached more than $45 billion. What do you think of that figure?
That's a lot of money.
And just think, every $3 invested in bonds pays back $4. That's real interest for you.
I know. And every savings bond is guaranteed by the government.
Right.
Oh, Joe, I wish you cared about my figure the way you do about those bonds you buy every payday.
Honey, I've got great interest in both.
Well, you just see that you stay that way.
And now, $5 Tip, starring Carl Swenson. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I had flown all the way from Cleveland to be with my brother on his last night, and it was no joyride. His picture was on page 1 of the Tribune under a big black headline. Governor denies appeal. Jardine to die tonight. On the plane, they all looked at me like I'd broken out of death row. I couldn't blame them. Tommy Jardine was not only my brother, he was my identical twin. At midnight, he'd be gone. This black shadow, this evil image of me that had forced me to run away and change my name so I could make an honest living. Jackie Cavanaugh, his girl, had begged me to come on, and after all, I felt I owed him this last night, just for the relief I would know afterward. I found the Blue Hour, a quiet little bistro where she'd asked me to meet her. Stopped at the check stand, leave my hat and suitcase.
One hat, one bag. Yes, sir.
Do something for me, will you? Don't let me leave without them. I do that all the time.
Yes, sir. I'll remember. Hey, you look like...
Yeah, I know who I look like. I'm supposed to meet a Miss Cavanaugh here.
Yes, sir. In the corner booth. Red coat.
Thank you. I fumbled in my pocket for something to help his memory. Found a bill and laid it on the counter, thinking it was a single. I didn't know until later it wasn't. It was a 5. All things considered, it was the best $5 I ever spent. Jackie Cavanaugh was staring into her scotch, looking very lonely. And she had reason to. She'd been in love with Tommy for as long as I could remember.
Sit down, Mark.
Thanks. What time will we do over there?
8:30. No visitors until 8:30. The warden's a bearcat for rules. You're looking more like Tommy every day, Mark.
There's nothing I can do about that.
Try to be kind to him on his last night, will you?
Yeah. I'll try. I had a double scotch, and then another one. And we sat there for a half hour with Tommy's picture staring at us out of page 1. Then we slipped out a side door and caught a cab for the prison. The warden was a thin-faced, white-haired man with a tired, worried look in his eyes.
I'd like you both to know you're legally entitled to visit Tommy Jardine tonight, but I must also make clear I don't approve of it.
Why not?
He's facing the greatest trial a man can be put to. He can do it best alone. He's called for his parish priest. 2 of them are down there now. And if you insist on seeing him, you'll have to decide now. In 5 minutes, the main gates will be locked until after the execution.
Mark, I think I'll stay here.
Well, I thought...
So did I. But I just can't bear to go through with it.
I understand. All right, Warden, I'll see him alone.
So you're the twin brother, huh? How come your name's different?
I changed it.
I don't blame you. You know, it's funny, up to now, we didn't believe he had a twin brother. Thought it was all part of the act.
What act?
Well, you know, it's against the law to execute an insane man.
You mean Tommy is...
Crazy as a coot. Or at least that's what he'd like us to think. It's turned into an endurance contest. 3 days and nights without a let-up. And you know what it'll add up to, don't you? He'll go to the chair, sound insane, and we'll go to the nut house. The priest is in there with him. All right, go ahead. Excuse me, Father.
Yes?
You got company, Jardine.
Hello, Tommy.
Huh? What do you know? So you had the nerve to come after all. Padre, shake hands with my brother.
I'll be back in 15 minutes, Mr. Heston.
Hey, listen to me, you idiot. My name is Heston. Mark Heston.
Shut up, Jardine.
Look, do I have to die to prove it? Padre, how can I convince him? What can I do? Look at him, on.
You see what I mean, Mr. Heston? It's been going on like this day and night. He's driving us nuts.
He'll be all right. Funny. Seems to come over him every so often. Perfectly rational 1 minute, and then...
Yeah. Well, Padre, see you in 15 minutes.
Tommy.
Huh? What happened? Did I do it again?
Yes, son. You said you were Mark, just like before.
Oh. Mark? I'm sorry, Mark. I don't know why.
We understand, don't we, Mr. Heston?
Sure. Is there anything I can do for you, Tommy? Afterwards?
Well, he does have some personal affairs to clean up.
Yeah, I'll be leaving some cash for one thing. In a safe deposit box in Detroit. And, there's a car and some personal stuff. That'll all go to Jackie.
I took a pencil out of my pocket and looked around for something to write on. Sticking out from under the Bible on the table was a blank card, so I picked it up and turned it over idly as I waited for Tommy to go on. There was printing on the back. It said, Fingerprint Record, State Penitentiary. And it had Tommy's picture and history, but the spaces for the fingerprints were blank. Then they jumped me.
I got him, Tommy.
The arms, Mike. Get his arms.
Got him. Get the needle inside the book. Pages cut out.
Okay. Hold him still now.
All right, come on, Jardine. Wake up. All right, snap out of it, punk. All right, get the leg out from under you. That's a boy. All right, now.
Hey, wait. What are you doing? What is this?
Look, Jardine, will you save the act for the newspaper boys, huh?
Look, I'm not Jardine. I'm Heston. I'm Mark Heston.
I'm Marilyn Monroe.
Hey, wait. Listen.
Oh, you listen, Jardine. I'm fed up with this act. You either play ball or job or no job, I kick your teeth in.
Let go of me. What are you doing?
I'm slitting your trouser leg because that's where we fasten the electrode. It's 10 after 11. In less than an hour, you go to the chair.
In a moment, we continue with the second act of Suspense.
Memo on medals. Interesting information about our military awards and decorations. Campaign medals were authorized by Congress in 1905 for all officers and men engaged in specified wars and military action, including such widely divergent battles as the Civil War in the United States and the Boxer Rebellion in China. The Navy and Marine Corps have a special Manila Bay Medal for members of the United States Asiatic Squadron under command of Commodore George Dewey in May of 1898. The Haitian Campaign of 1915 is commemorated with a medal, as is the Santo Domingo Expedition, which suppressed a revolt in that country and preserved order during elections in 1916. The Army has its Mexican Service Medal for those involved in any of several expeditions or engagements from April 12, 1911 through June 16, 1919. There is also the Army of Cuban Pacification Medal for United States troops who, from October of 1906 to April of 1909, helped establish a stable government in that island nation. The Victory Medal was initially awarded to all United States service personnel in World War I expeditionary forces, including, for the first time, women serving in the military units. There is a story behind every American medal, a proud story of devotion to country and unselfish service to keep it strong and free.
And now, starring Carl Swenson, Act 2 of $5 Tip.
Slowly, one by one, the facts came into focus. I was in cell 4 of death row, in Tommy's prison uniform. The guard was shaving my leg because in less than an hour, I was going to the chair in my twin brother's place.
Hold still now, Jardine.
I'm not Jardine, I tell you. I'm Mark Heston. Now get that through your thick skull, and then bring the warden here.
You'll see the warden in 45 minutes. The law says he's got to be there when they pull the switch.
Look, do you see this on my arm here?
What about it?
That is a mark from a hypodermic needle. That was why I was asleep just now.
Uh-huh.
The Padre, do you remember him?
Yeah.
He's a phony. His name is Mike, and he's a friend of Tommy's. And he had the needle inside the Bible that he was carrying.
Is that so?
And they hit me right after you left. Now, I know it sounds crazy, but they pulled it off.
Oh, they should have known better than to try a wild thing like that now, shouldn't they?
If you don't believe me, this mark on my arm. Now, look. You gotta believe that.
Oh, I believe it. You showed it to me yesterday.
I wasn't here yesterday. Listen to me. That was part of the build-up. Can't you see that? Like the Insanity Act and everything else. Listen to me, you stupid jerk.
The rule book says we don't rough up the customers, Jardine. However, in your case, I'm going to make an exception.
Please believe me. My name is Heston, Mark Heston. I've got an apartment on Riverdale Avenue in Cleveland. I work for the Ohio Indemnity Company.
I said I had enough talk. We went through that yesterday, too.
Now, wait. One more thing. You picked me up at the warden's office tonight. Do you remember? Tommy wouldn't know what we talked about. About my name first. You asked me why it was Heston, why it was different. Then about Tommy's act.
Oh, sure. You pumped your brother about that stuff while he was here. He told me when he left with the Padre.
All right, then.
Put down that chair.
Get the warden.
Give me that chair.
Get the warden.
Okay, Jardine. I'll get the warden.
I can't stand it. I can't stand it another minute.
Look, warden, I gotta get her out of here. She's going to pieces. Can't you see that?
I made that clear to you, Mr. Heston. The main gate's locked until after the execution.
Regulations. Can't you forget?
Let me go. I can't stay here while they kill him. Let me out of here.
Please, warden.
All right, I'll call the gate. Come in.
Warden, can I talk to you for a minute?
What is it, Louis?
I can't handle Jardine.
All right. Excuse me a minute, please.
Tommy.
Shut up.
I got a feeling we're not going to make it.
You're doing great. We'll be out of here in 5 minutes.
What are they talking about? What's he telling the warden? Can I go now, warden?
I'm afraid you two will have to stay here in the office for a few minutes. I may need you.
Well, let's see now. I got off the plane at the airport and took a cab to a bar called the Blue Hour. She said she'd be waiting there for me.
Jardine, listen to me.
Don't call me Jardine. I'm Mark Heston.
There's only a half hour to go, Tommy. This won't do you any good.
Warden, please, listen to me. He has been planning this for weeks. The girl, too, and that phony padre. They had it all worked out right down to the pinprick in his arm. Now, please, just let me talk to them. Give me 2 minutes with them. That's not much to ask, is it?
The girl couldn't take it.
That's an act. Can't you see that? It's an act.
Louis.
Yeah, Warden.
Mr. Heston and Miss Kavanaugh are waiting in my office. Bring them down here.
Yes, sir.
Well, what about Mike?
Mike?
That phony padre.
He left. He said he couldn't do anything more for you. Said it was up to the prison chaplain now.
Chaplain, warden, can't you...
Tommy, listen to me.
Tommy, I'm not Tommy. I'm Mark Heston.
In just a moment, we continue with the third act of Suspense.
We have, together, ample capacity and freedom to defend freedom. This is NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The 15 nations comprising the North Atlantic Treaty Organization have reaffirmed their faith in the aims of the United Nations. They have reaffirmed a desire to live in peace with all people, all governments. NATO is a framework within which the member nations can cooperate in every way to achieve peace and freedom for the world in our time. The United States of America is a part of NATO. You should be aware of and alert to the objectives and programs of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
And now, starring Carl Swenson, Act 3 of $5 Tip.
I'm sorry, Tommy. I'm sorry.
Jackie, I want you to realize what you'll be doing if you keep on lying. You'll be killing me. You'll be killing an innocent man, just like shooting him with a gun. It's murder.
Don't. Please don't.
And they're going to find out, sooner or later.
Tommy.
Listen to me. I just told the warden how we met at the Blue Hour. You were wearing that red coat so I could find you, waiting for me in the corner booth.
Blue Hour?
Yes, you remember that, don't you, Jackie?
The Blue Hour.
A bar on North Lake Street.
Well...
Answer me!
It won't work, Tommy. It just won't work.
Warden, call them. Call the Blue Hour. They'll tell you that I was there.
It's my job to give you every reasonable consideration, Tommy. But there are limits.
Limits? This is the limit. This is ridiculous. What about the fingerprints? You have his fingerprints here on file, right here in the prison. Why don't you... I remembered then. The blank fingerprint card sticking out from under the Bible. There was a faint smudge of ink on my fingertips. They had thought of everything.
I thought it might come to this, Tommy. We stopped at the files on the way down and picked up your card. Give me your hand.
Warden, I forgot to tell you something.
Give me the ink pad, Louis.
Hey, yes, sir.
No, Warden,
I hope this'll settle it once and
It
for
won't
all.
settle anything. I looked at Tommy while they took my prints. The corner of his mouth was twitching again. But he didn't dare look me in the eye.
Well, there you are, Jardine. They match perfectly.
Well, of course they match. They're my prints on the card. My brother and that phony priest took them while I was unconscious and switched cards in the files.
Come on, Louis.
Yes, sir.
Tommy, it's 20 minutes to 12. Prison chaplain will be here in 5 minutes if you want him.
Wait! Look, don't you walk out on me. I am Mark Heston, I tell you. There was a switch. Look! Look at him! Can't you see it? You've got the wrong man! The wrong man! There was my last faint hope. And all that was left was the horrible, unbelievable truth. They were going to do it. They were actually going to execute me. The lights dimmed, then brightened, and then dimmed again. And from down the corridor behind the door came a faint whine. With 15 minutes to go, they were testing the chair. 15 minutes. The prison chaplain came in. I had nothing more to say, nothing anyone would believe, so I told him to go away. Then Louis came back with a couple of assistants, and they shaved my head. 8 minutes. 7. 6. A kind of paralysis took me. I could hardly stand up. I could hardly breathe. 3 minutes. The chaplain came back again and more guards. Finally, the door to the block opened and the warden walked toward my cell. The hands on the clock over the door were almost straight up. The time had come. The warden moved slowly through the crowd of witnesses, white-faced and shaken. He took my arm.
Come on, Mark.
Okay. There's nothing left to... Wait. You called me Mark.
Sit down, Mark.
Where are my brother and the girl?
They're holding them downstairs.
There he is, Warden. Name is Willie.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Mr. Heston. I know it sounds kind of stupid to say I'm sorry, but...
No, forget it, Louis.
Thanks.
You probably don't remember me, mister, but...
Sure, you're the hat check kid at the Blue Hour.
I was reaching for the phone to call the gate so your brother and the girl could leave when it rang. They were calling about Willie here. He was at the gate trying to get in.
Well, Willie, how did you...
I waited till the taxi you took came back, and I asked the driver where you went.
Yeah, but why?
Well, you left your hat and bag.
Well, why did you bring him here?
Well, I didn't know what was in the bag, but I knew it must be awful important. You told me not to let you leave without them. Well, I might have let it go, but after all, mister, you left me a $5 tip.
Suspense, in which Carl Swenson starred in William N. Robeson's production of $5 Tip by Harold Swanton. Supporting Mr. Swenson in $5 Tip were Kathy Lewis, Henry Blair, Jack Crucian, Jerome Thor, and Ken Christie. Listen again next week when we return with another tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Suspense has been brought to you through the worldwide facilities of the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Suspense. In the diners and club cars of America's finest trains, wherever the knowing traveler seeks the last word in luxury, the first word in wines is Cresta? Blanca. Cresta Blanca. Cresta Blanca. Yes, Cresta Blanca California wine is the choice among those who set today's mode in travel as well as gracious living. So enrich your dining, distinguish your entertaining with Cresta Blanca. When you pour Cresta Blanca Burgundy, Sauterne, or any Cresta Blanca selection, you enjoy the finest in wine. Shenley's Cresta Blanca Wine Company, Livermore, California.
And now, Shenley brings you radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines, for your everyday enjoyment.
Tonight, Roma Wines of Fresno, California, bring you Mr. John Lund in Murder Aboard the Alphabet, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Shenley by William Spear.
It is well past midnight now, and I write these words so that other men may know the full story of that ill-fated voyage of the deep-sea tug, Alphabet. Ours was not a large vessel, but sturdily built for its task. And though it seems an age, it was only a little over 6 months ago that we sailed from Liverpool, England, bound out across the North Atlantic to deliver our ship to her new owners, a salvage firm of Boston, Massachusetts.
Stand by to cast off.
We put out with a reduced complement, just a handful of men, 12 in all. We were a new crew, sent on board for this journey over the deep sea lanes. And I sailed as chief officer, under the command of Captain Godfrey Walker, second mate Harvey Goodrum, and chief engineer Alec McTavish being the other members of our small saloon. I remember we departed on a cold, wet day, with the fog lying low over Birkenhead, and the northwest wind blowing fresh in our teeth.
On to port!
As the drab gray of the Liverpool dockside dropped back into the soaking mists, I doubt if any man aboard could have foretold what lay ahead over those 3,000 miles of heaving sea. When we had cleared the lightship, I went into the wheelhouse, where Captain Walker searched the channel ahead, his deep black eyes staring out from under his shaggy eyebrows. I saw him, his huge frame bundled in a salt-stained greatcoat.
Ah, Mr. Marshland, everything secured for sea?
Yes, sir. Everything on deck is lashed down as tight as a whistle.
Good, good. We may get a dirty crossing this time of the year.
Oh, she'll be uncomfortable, sir. When it comes to ships, I'm used to something a little bigger.
You're on no 10,000 tonner now, mister. If we hit it heavy, there'll be many a man on board who'll wish he'd never left the dockside.
Oh, I think the crew can take it, sir.
Well, maybe, mister, maybe. A few days out and we'll see. Keep it to a course, quartermaster. All right, Mr. Marshland, you can take her now.
Very good, sir.
Your course is south 70 west.
South 70 west, sir.
See these helmsmen, keep her on the course. I'll be back in my cabin if you want.
Aye, aye, sir.
Queer toe, the skipper, sir.
Is he?
Aye. Fair gives me the creeps, he does.
Oh, he's probably harmless enough. Used to bigger commands than this, I imagine.
But I'd keep a watch on him, sir, if I was you.
Keep a watch on him? Why?
Why? If you don't know now, sir, you'll find out soon enough.
South 70 west. Check your course.
South 70 west it is, sir.
Marshland, sir. You sent for me?
Oh, yes. Come in, mister. Come in. Take a chair, mister.
Thank you, sir.
No, not that one. Over there.
Oh, certainly, sir. Is there anything wrong?
No. Nothing's wrong. I just want to talk to you, discuss the affairs of the ship with you, give you some idea of what I expect. Oh, here, cigarette?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, by the way, you will not use that ashtray on your right. No, you will not use it. You may place your ash carefully on the other one.
This one?
Yes, that one. Tell me, how long since you had your last birth, mister?
Why, it's been some time, sir.
Oh. Port captain says you know me.
Well, only by reputation, sir.
Would it surprise you to learn that I know something of you by reputation, mister?
Why, I don't exactly...
We ought to make quite a pair, mister, quite a pair. Oh, well, no matter. Now, I shall tell you the reason I summoned you to my cabin, Mr. Marshall. You will find, if you do not know already, that I have very definite ways I wish things to be done. Very definite ways. First of all, I demand complete, unquestioning obedience.
Of course, sir. I'm sure you'll get the fullest cooperation from myself and the crew.
Good. I want that to be perfectly clear. I also insist that your supervision of the work on the ship be done in a certain manner I shall prescribe. All items of work will be carried out in alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order, sir?
Precisely. Starting with A and carrying through to Z.
I'm afraid I don't understand, sir.
I think my meaning is perfectly clear. If the hands are painting ship, they will start with the alleyways and all other items beginning with A. Then the bulkheads, then the decks, and so forth. You understand me now, mister?
Oh, yes, sir. I think I understand. But I'm afraid I don't quite see your reason.
Mr. Marshall! My reasons are not to be questioned. You will remember, while I'm in command of this vessel, I hold the power of life and death. Well, sir?
He was sitting across from me on the small settee of his cabin, his massive face half hidden in the shadows, his eyes piercing into mine. In the nearness of him, I could see the bloodshot veins like thin red tracings against the white. The man was mad. Higgins was right. He was mad.
Yes, life and death.
I looked about his cabin. There was something inhuman in its ordered neatness, as if the warmth of man had not touched it. I saw the books stacked evenly in the bookshelf. I saw the titles arranged in alphabetical order. It was a pattern complete in itself. The desk, the bunk, immaculate. Not a wrinkle or speck of dust visible to the naked eye. On the bulkhead were 4 photographs, enlargements of outdoor scenes. With a start, I realized they, too, were in perfect order, arranged according to the seasons, from left to right, spring, summer, autumn, winter. My eyes darted about me again, and on the shelf above his bunk, I saw 3 cameras. They also fitted the pattern, the smallest on the left, the largest on the right. I remembered the chair and the ashtray, and turned towards him as he spoke again.
Is that perfectly clear, Mr. Marshall?
Yes, sir. Perfectly clear.
Good. Now, one final thing. I insist that the quartermasters taking the wheel appear in sequence of the first letter of their surnames.
But, sir, that will mean rearranging the watches. Surely
Silence! You will do as I order.
Very good, sir. The watches will be changed.
That's better, much better. Well, mister, now that we understand one another, we shall cease talking about the ship. Aha! I see you've noticed my photographs.
Well, I can't say I know much about it, sir, but I'd say they're excellent.
Of course they're excellent. I took them myself, a hobby of mine. You may have noticed I have 3 cameras. 2 of them are of German make, the other American. The medium-sized one in the middle I use with infrared film, comparatively recent development. The other 2 I use for general purposes. Are you interested in photography, Mr. Marshall?
Well, I can't say I am particularly, sir. I've never done anything like that for a hobby.
Very well. If you're not interested, you may go.
Oh, I didn't mean that I
That
wasn't...
is an order, Mr. Marshland. You will now go.
I left him then and stumbled into the cold darkness outside, the thoughts tumbling unendingly through my head as I made my way to my cabin. We were pushing our way over the restless waters of the North Atlantic with a madman in command. On the morning of the third day, the second officer came running onto the bridge and flung himself excitedly into the wheelhouse.
Mr. Marshland, I'd like a word with you.
Go ahead, Goodrum. What is it?
Would you come outside? I can't tell you here.
Certainly. Now, what in the world is the matter with you?
It's the wireless operator, sir. Abercrombie. He's gone.
You mean he's disappeared? Off the ship?
Disappeared? Maybe. But I wouldn't wonder if there was a better name for it than that, sir.
What do you mean?
I mean murder.
Abercrombie was gone, vanished without a trace from the decks of the Alphabet. And although I didn't have the feeling myself, there was an uneasiness within the crew now. They seemed furtive, frightened, and they quietly drifted out of sight whenever the captain made an appearance on the deck. You could see they feared him, and somehow connected his madness with the disappearance of the wireless operator. That night, I stood in the darkness of the wheelhouse, the faint light from the binnacle shining on the face of Higgins as he stood his trick at the wheel.
It's a rum go, sir. That Abercrombie didn't just fall over the side by himself. Mark my words on that.
Oh, come now, Higgins. Many a man has disappeared from shipboard, swept over the side by a sea.
Sir, on a stormy night that may be. But last night was a pretty quiet one. Just a little kiss of rain. Done in he was, sir.
But why? What reason?
Reason? No one had no reason, sir. Except maybe the queer one.
The queer one?
Aye, the skipper, sir.
Good heavens, man. Are you accusing the captain of...
He's not a normal man, sir.
I wouldn't be too loud about the captain, Higgins. You can't accuse people without evidence.
I'll keep me tongue. But the skipper's off his rocker. You know that as well as I do, sir.
Oh, he's got some set ideas about things, but that doesn't...
Alphabetical ideas, sir?
Well, yes, but...
Ain't you thought of this, sir? His name, Abercrombie.
What of it?
Beginning with a hay. The first letter of the alphabet. Abercrombie was the first. But he won't be the last, sir. He won't be the last.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Mr. John Lund in Murder Aboard the Alphabet. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is being brought to you by Roma. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines, America's largest selling wines. When it's 90 in the shade and there's no shade, that's the time to enjoy tall, tinkling glasses of ice-cold Roma wine and soda. Yes, treat your family and friends to the thirst-quenching goodness of Roma wine and soda. So simple. Half-fill tall glasses with any Roma wine, such as robust Roma Burgundy or delicate Roma Sauterne. Fill up with cracked ice and soda, sweeten to taste. Then take a long, cooling sip and smile. You'll discover why Roma wine and soda is so cool to come home to, especially when the weatherman says warmer. And remember, for better taste, always enjoy Roma wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines, the greatest name in wines.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage John Lund as First Mate Marshland, and Joseph Kearns as Captain Walker in Murder Aboard the Alphabet. A play well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Needless to say, the conclusions of the men were no surprise to me. But I didn't feel the time was ripe for further action. On the evening of the following day, the barometer started dropping, and next morning saw the low gray clouds scudding swiftly before the wind, and the Alphabet laboring heavily in the rising sea. It was at 8 bells of the morning watch, the 6th day at sea. Who's there?
It's McTavish, Mr. Mate.
Oh, come in, Chief. Take a chair, Chief. Oh, what is it? You look bothered.
Butterfield, mister. He's lost.
Lost?
Aye.
Are you sure, McTavish?
Ugh, aye, I'm sure enough. We've searched for him all around the ship. There's nae a trace, mister.
Have you informed the captain?
Ah, the old man. Didn't you think he knows it?
Come on.
Well, mister?
There's another man gone, sir. Butterfield.
Butterfield, eh?
Aye, sir.
How long have you known this, Mr. Marshland?
The chief engineer informed me only a few moments ago, sir.
Are you sure of this, Mr. McTavish?
Aye, I'm sure. There's nae a trace of him anywhere aboard the ship.
Very well, Mr. McTavish, you may go. I wish to speak to the chief officer alone.
What about Butterfield, sir?
Go, Mr. McTavish, that's an order!
Aye, sir. I'll be off.
Well, Mr. Marshland?
I'm afraid this is beyond me, sir.
No, I'm not referring to the engineer, mister. He's obviously disappeared. There's nothing we can do about it. Well, why are you standing? Why don't you sit down?
Well, but thank you, sir.
Yes, it's Thursday. You may sit in the armchair.
Thank you.
Well, what do you think of my ship now? You still find it uncomfortable?
Oh, no, sir. I like her very well. I thought a long time before I shipped aboard.
Oh, you did, eh, mister, huh? Well, she's small, but then any ship's a ship, eh? I'd like something a little more, but then the sea is the lady that counts. Am I right?
That's right, sir.
You love her. You love her very much, don't you, Marshland?
I do. Yes, I do.
You're young, but you love her more than anything?
More than anything.
More than is natural?
Captain.
And now you're seated. Would you like to inspect my cameras and tell me what you think of them?
Well, I'm afraid I don't know a great deal about that sort of thing, sir.
So, you know nothing about them? Good, you may leave my cabin.
Certainly, sir. I shall look into the Butterfield matter.
He's left the ship, mister. You're only wasting your time. Now go.
For the second time, I left the cabin of that strange man. I left him alone with his madness, and steadying myself against the roll of the ship, walked the deck, thinking my own thoughts. It was that night that Higgins came to me in my cabin. I bade him enter, and he settled his wizened body down upon my armchair. I was lying in my bunk, watching him as he sat there, awkwardly twisting his cap in his hands.
It's an unusual request I have, sir. I hope I can speak in confidence, like.
Go on, Higgins. Whatever you have to say will be just between the two of us.
Well, sir, we think the skipper should be put away, sir.
Put away? What do you mean?
Locked up, sir, where he can't harm us.
You know that's mutiny.
It's mutiny, but Mr. Marshland, he'll murder us all. Abercrombie, Butterfield, he'll go clear on down the alphabet if we don't stop him.
There's no proof.
Well, the lads are sure enough.
Are they?
Just give us the word, sir, and we'll help you. We'll put him away.
Very well, Higgins. Keep it among yourselves, but you can tell the men this. If there's any more trouble, I'll take matters into my own hands. You can rest assured of it.
Thank you, sir. It may be mutiny, but there ain't a court in the world as ever would convict you, ain't it?
No. No, Higgins, I don't think there is. It had to be done very carefully, and for quite a while I lay back upon my bunk, thinking of what Higgins had said. It would be risky, but the men were behind me. That would more than sway the balance. Higgins was right. Any court of law would see the wisdom of my action. They would never convict for mutiny, and Captain Walker would be locked away forever. We continued on our way, and in the howl of the wind and the long seas, you could sense the cold hand of fear that had settled over the alphabet. By the evening of the 7th day, we stood well out on our great circle track, more than halfway between Liverpool and Boston. We plunged through dirty seas, rising to each crest and falling to the trough below, with the water curling green over the flare of our bluff bows. But we made fair time, and the knot slipped steadily astern. It was during the inky blackness of that night that death struck again on the decks of the Alphabet, and another member of our dwindling band disappeared into the unknown. Abercrombie, Butterfield, and now the third man. His name was Chadwick.
Who's that? Oh, good evening, sir. Dirty weather, sir. Well, I'll be getting below, sir. Would you please let me by? I want to go below.
You clumsy fool.
You dropped something, sir.
Never mind, I'll get it. There. Up rather late, aren't you, Mr. Marshland?
You are too, aren't you, Captain? I thought I heard a scream.
Oh, did you now, mister? Did you?
We're all here, sir.
You all know why you're here.
Yes, sir. The lads know.
We're with you, mister.
We'll stop his tricks, we will.
Yes.
Good. Now we must do this quietly and quickly. There must be no bungling, understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, here goes.
Yes?
Captain Walker, will you come on deck a minute?
Well, mister, what is it you want?
Come out here, sir. I want to show you something.
Keep your hand, Mr. Marshland!
Never mind that, man. Captain, stay where you are. This gun is loaded.
So now it's mutiny. Marshland, you'd better
Shut up. One move and I'll shoot.
Aye, and you'll get my knife in your gizzard. Mr. Marshland, he's the skipper now.
You swing for this, Marshland. You and all the rest.
Do you really think they'll hang a mate for mutiny when they can hang a captain for murder? We sailed into Boston Harbor with Captain Walker lashed securely to a chair in his cabin. After the first brief struggle, he had grown quieter, and during the last days of our voyage, he had just sat there, silently, saying nothing, a strange, mad smile leering from his lips. We arrived in Boston late in the afternoon, and as we sailed up the harbor, we hoisted the international signal calling for the harbor police. After we had docked alongside, I went up to his cabin to ensure that all was in readiness for the arrival of the police. And as I stood over him, bound there in his chair, his eyes seemed to mock me, his smile taunting me.
So, Mr. Marshland, this is to be the success of your little plan, eh?
I have nothing to say to you, Captain. The police will be aboard at any moment.
You think I'm mad, don't you? Well, maybe I am. But you've bungled it badly, mister. You've bungled it very badly.
Have I?
Who's that? Police. Police, come in, come in.
Officer, this man is...
Yes, you've bungled it, Mr. Marshall. Why weren't you content to let me be with my madness, as I was content to let you be with yours? Oh, we'd have made quite a pair, as I told you, if you hadn't bungled it.
What are you talking about?
Oh, I know all about you, mister. Under a bit of a cloud, eh? Haven't shipped for quite a while. Not the first vessel you've been on where men have disappeared in the black of the night, eh? Oh, but I wouldn't have cared. No, I liked your methods, businesslike. By the letters, by the alphabet.
You are mad. Take him away, officer.
Yes, mad, quite. But you should have taken more interest in my photography, mister. My infrared film, for instance. You can take pictures on the darkest night. Would I have one, mister? An excellent likeness.
A likeness?
Of you, mister. The night you pushed Chadwick over the side.
The police have been very understanding. They could readily understand how a man could hate and fear the sea, and yet love it, like a woman. Love it enough to follow it and hunger for it and make every sacrifice. Even human sacrifice. But now they say they must send me away to a place where the sea can no longer torture me. A place of no land or sea or wind or rain, but only rest.
This time, my son, can you pray?
Yes, to the sea. Only to the sea.
Suspense.
Murder Aboard the Alphabet, starring John Lund, presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Those better tasting Roma wines, America's favorite wines. Yes, Roma wines taste better, because Roma brings you the captured natural richness of California's choicest grapes, gently pressed and guided, unhurriedly, with ancient skills and America's greatest winemaking resources, to tempting taste luxury. These better tasting Roma wines are placed with mellow Roma wines of years before, and from these, the world's greatest wine reserves, Roma later selects for your enjoyment. This weekend, share with your friends the hospitality of delicious Roma California wine. Before dinner, serve nut-like Roma sherry. After dinner, enjoy rich, fruity Roma port. Yes, the better taste of choice Roma wines tells you why Roma, that's R-O-M-A, Roma wines, are enjoyed by more Americans than any other wines.
John Lund will soon be seen in Paramount's 36-star production, Variety Girl. Tonight's suspense play was by Charles Turrell. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Lloyd Nolan as star of Suspense. Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. Don't forget, next week Suspense will present Lloyd Nolan. The following week, Edmund O'Brien. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Autolite and its 96,000 dealers present Suspense. Tonight, Autolite brings you The Victoria Cross, a suspense play starring Mr. Herbert Marshall.
Gotta keep going. Keep going. You're in command now, Bale. Stout fella. Well done, my boy. Afraid. It'll hurt. I don't want to be hurt. Stay down. Dig in the air. Cover yourself. Nurse.
Now, Captain Bale, you wake all the patients. What is it?
I was dreaming again. Please, I can't stand it. Please, give me...
I'm sorry, Captain. The doctor said no more.
I've got to. I want to sleep without dreams. It'll make me sleep, make me forget.
I'm sorry, but it won't help. The doctor doesn't want you to take any more. Those are his orders.
Orders? What is it to him? He doesn't know.
If you're going to take that schoolmaster position you told me about, you'll have to get well.
No, I want to...
You've been taking that medicine too long now, Captain. It's better this way. Just be strong for a while. It'll be better.
Strong. I wish I was strong enough to wipe that professional kindness from your face. I'd like to kill you.
In just a moment, Mr. Herbert Marshall in the first act of The Victoria Cross.
Water.
What's that, Wilcox? A desert rat?
That, my dear Senator, is an ordinary battery dying of thirst.
Come, Wilcox.
Come is the word, Senator. Everyone comes to the Autolite Stay Full battery, the battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. Why, an Autolite Stay Full battery is so cautious of water, it makes a camel look like a double-deck water tank.
That's folderol, Wilcox.
That's factual, Senator, because the Autolite Stay Full has over 3 times the liquid protection of batteries without Stay Full features.
Water everywhere.
And furthermore, Senator, the Autolite Stay Full battery has fiberglass retaining mats protecting every positive plate for longer life. 70% longer life, in fact, as proven by tests conducted according to SAE minimum life cycle standards.
Give me that longer life, Wilcox.
So, friends, see your neighborhood Autolite battery dealer and ask him for an Autolite Stay Full, the battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
Right.
And remember, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, with the Victoria Cross and the performance of Mr. Herbert Marshall, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
Wait here in the hall, Bateman. I'll call you.
All right, sir.
Come in, please, Ord.
Yes, sir.
Sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Ord, I have no intention of sermonizing upon the dignity of our school. You and Bateman are both aware that at Hoxley, the boys are on their honor during examinations.
Yes, sir.
And yet, knowing this, you deliberately passed information to him. Why?
I don't know, sir.
Come now, I thought we were friends. You've never lied to me before.
I don't know, sir. Really. Please don't ask me.
Did you know when you arranged this that you could both be expelled?
Yes, sir.
Nevertheless, you, who, as far as I know, have never been particularly friendly with Bateman, ran the risk of expulsion for his sake. Again, I ask you why. Did he threaten you?
No. No, why do you ask that?
Well, there must be a reason.
All right. He's the most popular boy in school. He's captain of the cricket and rugger teams. Nobody likes me. I want him to be my chum.
You're not telling the truth, Ord. Wait outside, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Send Bateman in.
He wants to see you.
Sit down, Bateman.
Thank you.
Well, what have you to say for yourself?
Nothing.
Take off your cap. Do you deny cheating?
Why should I?
You're being insolent, Bateman. And you will address me as sir.
Yes, sir.
What do you think this will do to your reputation as the most popular boy in the school?
I don't think it will do anything, sir.
We shall have to allow the headmaster to decide that.
You wouldn't sneak to Mr. Walkley, now would you, sir?
You're one of the older boys, Bateman, but you're still not too old to be caned.
By you, sir?
It's time you learned that you're still a schoolboy and in need of discipline. By going to Mr. Walkley's office. Come on. Stand up.
All right. And while you're telling Mr. Walkley about me, will it be all right if I tell him about you in the village? About the dagger and drum? What's the matter, Mr. Vale? Is it Maggie Splain? She knows a lot of men, but I'll bet she doesn't know any of them as well as she knows you. Does she? May I go now, sir?
The position of a housemaster at an English public school is one of traditional conformity and demands of its holder the utmost of individual principles. I had come to Hoxley during the last year of the Second World War, directly upon my release from the hospital, and through seniority in 1949 found myself housemaster at Peckham House. The years had not been pleasant, but I had felt at least an uneasy security until the day of the examination, when the model British schoolboy Giles Bateman had destroyed the security and left in its stead the fear. And the fear grew. That evening after supper, I sat at my desk in the study hall and wondered about the boys before me, quiet with their books and scribbling. Did they know? Did they all know? What had this terrifying child with the body of a man told them? He sat, head bowed over his ancient history, the most popular boy at Hoxley.
What's yours?
Mild and bitter.
Right. Good evening, sir. What's the idea of coming in here like this?
I've got to talk to you, Maggie.
I'm busy.
I've got to talk to you. What time do you get off?
Not till 10, and I've got a date. You better order something. They'll think it queer.
Anything.
Half a pint, and? Right you are.
What did you tell Giles Bateman?
Here you are, sir.
What did you tell him? He knows about it.
Go on now, can
He said so. He mentioned your name. You've talked to him, haven't you?
And what if I have? He's a nice young bloke, and I can talk to whoever I want, can't I? But I didn't say nothing bad about you.
What did you say?
Just that I knew you, that you were a nice, generous gentleman.
I should never have trusted you.
I didn't ask you to. You came to me, don't forget. I'll thank you not to be so high and mighty.
I'm sorry. Are you sure you didn't say anything else?
I can't talk no more. The boss is watching.
Did you say anything else?
No. Go away.
Maggie!
In a jiffy, sir.
I returned to the school undiscovered and made my rounds of Peckham House, now silent. And as I looked into each darkened room and listened to the sounds of sleep, I wondered if I could at this moment give each boy an insight into his future and the tragedies lying before him. Granted the power, how many would choose to awake in the morning, and how many would choose never to awake again? There was one room outside of which I stopped, listened. It was a door I did not open. A week passed, and once more I allowed myself the luxury of an uneasy security. I convinced myself that whatever Giles Bateman knew about my visits to the dagger and drum, it was not sufficient to cause my arrest. I determined to avoid any further visits, at least until the boy was out of school. And then, the afternoon of a half-holiday, Francis Ord came to me.
May I speak to you, sir?
Of course, Ord, come in. You like some tea?
No, thank you, sir.
A cake?
Well, I'm not hungry, sir.
Oh. What's the matter?
Oh, nothing, sir, nothing.
I thought that we were friends. You used to like to have tea with me and talk.
Well, I've been very busy, sir. I'm swatting. I want to get better marks.
I'm not angry with you about the examination last week. I know it wasn't your fault. That's why I didn't take the matter any further.
Yes, sir.
I suppose you think that's showing favoritism, don't you? In a way, I'm cheating.
Oh, no, sir. It was very sporting of you.
Sporting, was it? You came to see me about something odd. What is it?
Sir, I should like your permission to change my room.
Oh?
Yes, sir.
Don't you get along with Watson Minor?
Well, Bateman has asked me to share his dig.
Has he? You want to?
Yes, sir. I want to very much.
You're lying. He's holding something over your head. You can tell me. I'm your friend. I'll help you.
Thank you, sir. Do I have your permission to move, sir?
Because I didn't have the courage to question him any further, I gave him permission. And as he left the room, I saw the look of the condemned in his eyes. I had given him the privilege of becoming a bully's bootblack. The school term waned. I was very careful. Except in my ancient history form, I saw very little of Francis Ord. Bateman thrived in the glory of his victories, his top marks, his prowess on the playing fields of old Hawksley. This was his last term, and for me, that meant freedom once again from the fear. Then, 3 weeks before final exams, Headmaster Mr. Walkley called me to his study.
Come in. Good afternoon, Mr. Vale. Do sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Just had an interesting talk with Giles Bateman. Very interesting.
Oh, really, sir?
I want to do something for the boy, Vale. I'm petitioning for a scholarship at Cambridge. As Bateman's housemaster, your signature to this letter on his behalf will be of inestimable value. After all, you know him better than any of us do.
Yes, I do, sir. May I read the letter?
Of course. It is rather glowing, I admit, but what can one say? He is all of these things. Don't you agree?
I'm sorry, sir. I can't sign it.
You
I won't sign it, sir, because I can find only one truth in the letter. He has been a successful athlete, nothing more.
Nothing more?
You speak of his integrity. He has none. His leadership. He rules through fear.
You don't know what you're saying.
You forget, sir. I'm his housemaster. I know him better than any of you. You praise his high principles. He's a cheat. You point out his sense of fair play. He's a bully.
I've heard enough, Mr. Vale, quite enough. Needless to say, I'm shocked beyond words. I can only construe from this monstrous outburst that you're allowing an entirely personal malice to sway your judgment.
I'm sorry, sir.
Your apology is not sufficient, sir. I suggest that you return to your quarters and give the matter serious thought. Very serious thought, Mr. Vale. For your own good.
It was a curious thing, and I felt almost lightheaded as I walked back to my rooms. For a moment, I had forgotten my personal involvement, and stated quite objectively, I felt, what I knew to be the truth about Giles Bateman. I even felt that I might have said the same thing had Bateman been there.
Did you sign the letter, sir?
What are you doing in my room? Get out.
Did you sign it?
I told you to get out. Do you want to go hiding?
Do you want me to tell the head about you?
You can't bluff me again, my boy. You know I've gone to the Dagger and Drum. That silly girl told you about my visits. It's not enough for your filthy blackmailing. You can't bluff me.
She told me enough to send you to prison, Mr. Vale.
What did she tell you?
I'd be afraid to tell you, but I wouldn't be afraid to tell Mr. Walkley or the constable.
What did she tell you?
You wouldn't hit a schoolboy, would you, Mr. Vale? They'd want to know why.
Get out! Get out!
You will sign that letter for me, won't you, Mr. Vale?
I knew then that I would have to sign the letter. Or if I didn't, something would have to be done about the boy. And because of my fear, I did something that I had promised myself I would not do. I went to the Dagger and Drum and to Maggie's plane so that I would forget. Perhaps forget too much.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Herbert Marshall in the Victoria Cross. Tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Water.
There's that battery again, Wilcox.
What a thirst. But let me tell you about the famous Autolite Stay Full battery, the battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
I'm listening.
Why, the Autolite Stay Full has over 3 times the liquid protection of batteries without Stay Full features. That advantage alone helps overcome one of the greatest causes of battery failure.
You don't say so, Wilcox.
Oh, I do, Senator, and more, too, because the Autolite Stay Full battery has fiberglass retaining mats protecting every positive plate to prevent shedding and flaking and give longer life. Yes, sirree, 70% longer life as proven by tests conducted according to SAE minimum life cycle standards.
Me for an Autolite Stay Full.
Right, Senator. So, friends, see your neighborhood Autolite battery dealer and ask him for an Autolite Stay Full battery, the battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. And remember, you're always right with Autolite.
And now Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Herbert Marshall in Elliott Lewis's production of The Victoria Cross, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I have no memory of what I did or where I went later that night. But the next morning in Baseman's room, I found myself standing over what had once been the most popular boy in school. During the war, there had been other dead bodies, but this one aroused within me no feeling whatsoever. There was neither triumph nor sorrow. I was aware only of the 4 walls of his room and the stained cricket bat on the floor.
Has anything in the room been moved, sir?
Mr. Vane,
Yeah, I beg your pardon.
the inspector's talking to you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right, sir. I understand. Has anything been moved?
Not as far as I know.
As housemaster, it's your duty to make the rounds at night.
Yes.
Would you say that there was any sign of trouble last night?
Not so far as I know.
Tell me, sir, how did the deceased get along with Francis Ord?
Well, it was Bateman who requested all to share his quarters.
What about his other schoolfellows?
We admired him tremendously, Inspector. I may say without fear of contradiction that he was the most popular boy in school.
I'm afraid, Mr. Walker, they must have been extremely unpopular with somebody here. I should like to have the door of this room locked until the laboratory men arrive.
Of course, sir.
Shocking. Shocking. Poor boy. Well, I imagine you'll want to question Francis Ord, Inspector.
Yes.
Yes. Well, he's detained in Mr. Vale's quarters. You'll find me in my study.
Very well, sir.
I can tell you, sir, that a murder investigation involving schoolboys is something out of my line. Now, I'd be obliged if you'd stand by.
I'd be happy to.
Mr. Vale, what did you think of Bateman? Oh, it doesn't matter. You don't have to answer that. Francis Ord.
Very fond of him, Inspector. He's quite shy, but he's a sensitive lad. From what he has told me, I know that his family life has been quite unhappy. He lost his mother when he was 8. His father remarried, and I gather that he feels, well, forsaken.
Is he happy here?
Happier, perhaps, than at home.
Yet he doesn't get on too well here.
I'd say he's about the most unpopular boy at Hoxley.
Rather strange, don't you think, sir? The 2 lads, such complete opposites, would chum together?
Yes, perhaps it is.
Did you talk to him this morning before he tried to run away?
Ord ran away?
You didn't know?
Well, here we are. Ord. This is Inspector Forbes. He wants to ask you some questions.
Well, young fellow, my lad, you were caught trying to run away this morning. That doesn't look very good, you know. Don't you think it'd be better if you told us exactly what happened?
Francis.
I think he might be trying to protect somebody, don't you, sir?
Sooner or later, things are found out, Francis. Tell him the truth. I don't want you to protect anyone.
Why should I protect anybody? Nobody cares about me. All right. I'll tell you the truth. I killed him. It doesn't matter now. I hated him. He was a dirty, filthy, rotten swine. I did it, Mr. Vale. I hit him with my cricket bat. I hit him, and I hit him. And he fell down. And he cried. And he begged me to stop. And I didn't. I didn't stop. And I felt strong.
Why did you kill him?
Inspector,
Yes, Mr. Vale.
I think we should leave him alone.
Not very pretty to hear a confession like that, especially from a kid.
What happens to him now?
I should take him back to London, but I'm not going to just yet. There's something else that he hasn't said. It's not finished.
It wasn't finished. The inspector wasn't a brilliant man, but he was diligent. I felt he had done this sort of work for a long time and done it very well. And in finding why Francis ordered kill Bateman, perhaps she would find out about me. Find my secret. He asked me to accompany him. He questioned other masters and other schoolboys. It was in the gymnasium that we found the very physical sportsmaster, Samuel Jennings.
He had great style at the wicket. Reminded me of Jack Hobbs. I can tell you one thing about him, Inspector Forbes. The school's going to miss him. Don't you agree, Mr. Vale?
He was the very best of the British schoolboy, Mr. Jennings.
Oh, I wouldn't go so far as to say that. Nothing namby-pamby about him. He was a bit of a lad. Take a nip now and again, and there was a bit of fluff in the village that caught his eye.
Oh?
Yes, the barmaid at the Dagger and Drum, Maggie Splain. He broke her bounds a couple of times to see her, but of course he wasn't the only one.
Mr. Jennings, what do you think of young Ord?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't and I never did. He's a coward and a liar. The boys call him a nasty little beast, and that's what I think he is. Soppy. Nothing.
I'm sure you've been very helpful, Mr. Jennings.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, Mr. Vale, I think I've learned as much as I can for the moment. Oh, I want to call Scotland Yard. If you could direct me to a telephone, I won't trouble you anymore.
You'll find one in the gymnasium office, just there to the left. He knew about the Dagger and Drum now. He knew about Maggie Splain. Now he was going to call Scotland Yard, and he'd find out more. He'd find out about me. I couldn't leave the school grounds until later that afternoon, and when I did, slipping past the front gate porter, I ran to the village.
Maggie. You're going to get me into trouble coming in here like this.
Listen to me. A detective is going to come here. He'll ask you a lot of questions.
Me? Questions? Oh, Lord.
There'll be questions about Bateman.
Why? What's he done?
He's been murdered.
Murdered?
Be quiet. You don't have to worry. But if you say anything about me...
You killed him, didn't you?
No, there's been a confession. Francis Ord, his roommate.
It wasn't you?
I told you no. Remember now, you don't know me.
Oh, I won't say anything, I swear it. You won't hurt me, will you?
You've never met me. You don't know my name. You don't know anything about me.
All right, all right.
When I left the Dagger and Drum, I felt that my secret was reasonably secure. I wanted a good excuse to have been away from school had anyone chanced to see me. So I had tea in the village, then went to the cinema. When I returned to Peckham House about 10 o'clock...
Mr. Vale.
Oh, Inspector.
Where have you been?
Why, in the village, at the cinema.
Would you come with me, please?
I don't quite understand.
Francis Ord tried to commit suicide tonight. He's been asking for you.
Where is he?
In his room. He'll be all right.
Francis. Francis.
Hello, sir.
Well, this is a nice thing for the school, I must say.
I'm sorry, sir. I thought it would be better this way.
Better?
I was afraid, sir. Afraid they'd make me talk about... Who's that with you?
It's the inspector, Francis. There was no need for you to... Tell him, Francis.
But he...
I want him to know, Francis. It's all right.
It's about you, sir.
I know. Bateman said things about me, didn't he?
Yes, sir. You remember the examination when you caught us cheating?
I remember.
Well, he knew then about you and...
The girl in the village?
Yes. I didn't want to believe him. But he said if I didn't help him with the exam, he'd tell something about you and you'd be arrested. So you see, I had to. You were my friend, sir. And I knew that no matter what Bateman said about you, it couldn't really be bad.
It was bad, Francis, because I was weak. I didn't have courage.
You're the only friend I ever had, sir. I didn't want you to get into trouble.
I was in the war, Francis. When I was wounded and they sent me home, the king gave me a medal. He thought I was brave because I'd helped some people. But when he gave me the medal, I wasn't brave any longer. I was a coward because I was taking medicine, and I couldn't stop taking the medicine.
Yes, sir?
Bateman found out I was buying it from Maggie's playing at the Dagon drum. Isn't that what you were protecting me from?
Yes, sir, but
Francis, did you kill Bateman? Tell me the truth.
No, sir.
Go on.
I went out for a walk that night. When I left, Bateman was all right. When I came home, you passed me on the stairs, and you didn't know me. You wouldn't talk to me. When I got in the room, Bateman was dead, lying on the floor. You're the only friend I ever had, sir. I couldn't.
That's enough talking, son. You'd better rest. Mr. Vale?
Yes. Good night, Francis.
Good night, sir.
I don't remember a thing that I did last night, Inspector. But when Francis confessed this morning, I thought he must have done it. But I was safe. Look at me. I'm the housemaster of Peckham House at Hoxley School. I won the Victoria Cross for bravery at Tobruk. And yet I almost allowed that boy to plead guilty to a murder which I committed. What medal will they bestow upon me for this bravery?
Suspense, presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. Herbert Marshall.
Say, Wilcox, are you leaving?
No, going, Senator.
Going where?
Going to tell our friends that the Autolite Stay Full battery is one of more than 400 products for cars, trucks, planes, and boats made by Autolite in 28 plants coast to coast. These include complete electrical systems used as original equipment on many makes of America's finest cars. Generators, coils, distributors, voltage regulators, electric windshield wipers, wire and cable, starting motors. All engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly, because they're a perfect team. So, friends, don't accept electrical parts supposed to be as good. Ask for and insist on Autolite, original factory parts, at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. And remember, you're always right with Autolite.
Next week on Suspense, Mr. William Holden as star of Blood on the Trumpet. And in weeks to come, you will hear such famous stars as Cary Grant, Ozzie Nelson, and Harriet Hilliard, and Van Heflin, all appearing in tales well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Suspense is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis, with music composed by Lucien Morawek and conducted by Lud Gluskin. Herbert Marshall may be heard on his own radio program, The Man Called X.
And remember, next week on Suspense, Mr. William Holden in Blood on the Trumpet.
You can buy Autolite Stay Full batteries, Autolite standard or resistor type spark plugs, Autolite electrical parts at your neighborhood Autolite dealers. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
One of the most cherished possessions we Americans have is our right to vote for representatives in all elective offices. They represent us, the American people. We should make every effort on Tuesday, November 7th, to vote for those we believe best qualified. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
You are about to hear a story based on actual events. To protect the innocent, names and places have been changed.
Autolite and its 96,000 dealers bring you Mr. Richard Widmark in a story taken from life. Tonight's presentation of
Suspense. Tonight, Autolite presents The Hunting of Bob Lee, the true story about the most famous of all Texas feuds, starring Mr. Richard Widmark.
Here it comes, folks. Here it comes.
You're so right, Johnny Plugcheck. Cold weather is on its way. And now's the time to take your car to your neighborhood Autolite spark plug dealer for a change of oil, grease, some antifreeze.
And check those spark plugs, too.
Right, Johnny, because the spark plugs are the very heart of your car's ignition system. And when they're right, your chances of starting even in coldest weather are better than ever. If your spark plugs are worn out, then your Autolite spark plug dealer will install ignition-engineered, resistor-type or standard-type Autolite spark plugs for smoother performance, quick starts, and gas savings. So prepare for cold weather driving now.
And check those spark plugs, too.
Yes, friends, see your neighborhood Autolite spark plug dealer this week. Just call Western Union by number and ask for Operator 25. She'll quickly tell you the name and location of your nearest Autolite spark plug dealer. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, with The Hunting of Bob Lee and the performance of Mr. Richard Widmark, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
Wake up, darling Corey, and go get me my gun. I ain't no hand for trouble, but I'll die before I run.
Lee Ranch, Fannin County, June 26, 1868. Editors, Texas News, Bonham, Texas. Gentlemen, if you will permit me the use of your valuable columns, I would like to give you a true statement on what is known as the Pilot Grove difficulty. Notwithstanding that there's been no killing in the village except Dr. Pierce. But to begin, I was raised in this state. I came home from the war a hated man, merely because my fortunes had not suffered during the war as had those of my neighbors. And that was the basis for the hatred. I was too prosperous. They used my habit of dressing as an excuse for the first real trouble, for when I rode into the village, into Pilot Grove, I wore a black suit and a hat with a plume in it. It was that hat that started the trouble. They were waiting in front of Nelson's saloon.
Hold up, Lee. We want to talk with you.
Hold there. Stand there. What do you have to say to me?
We want to know who you are to be dressing like that. Are you lording it over us with your fancy suit and a plume in your hat?
Why should I lord it over anybody? I dress the way that pleases me.
No man would ever wear a hat like that. It's for a woman.
I'm wearing it, Evans.
We can see that.
That makes you worse than a woman.
Only one reason you wear it. You think you're better than us. Takes more than a plume to make you better. And I'll see that hat pulled down around your neck.
You want to try that, Evans?
I'll see it there.
You talk mighty brave, still up on your horse.
Then I'll get down. Oh, stand there. Whoa.
Don't take it from him, Evans.
Now, Evans, if you or any one of the rest of you think you can tell me how to dress, this is the time to begin.
Go ahead, Evans. We're behind you.
Don't take it from him, Evan. Shove a hat down his throat.
All right, I will.
Good boy, Evans. Get him now.
You got some dirt on you, Lee. Get him now, Evans. Evans! Pull him out from under that horse. Come on, he got stepped on. Move that horse. Come on.
Hold it.
Pull him out. Pull him out. Come on.
Whatever. Stand there.
The devil. Look at him.
He's dead, boys. Look at the back of his head.
Did you hear that, Lee?
I heard.
Evans is dead.
And you killed him, Lee.
He fell under my horse.
You knocked him there.
Sure you did.
It was a fair fight, and I knocked him down. Your sword was that way.
You killed him, Lee. And we'll get you for it.
He's not the only one who'll die in Pilot Grove. You can remember that, Lee. You'll pay for this. Isn't that right, boys?
That's right.
Dad, there's no sense in my talking to you. You all know it was a fair fight, but you built up a hate. And you'll think what you want to think. So do what you want to do. I'll be waiting.
You won't wait long.
You, Madison. You can give me back my hat. I want to say this strongly, gentlemen. I did not kill Hugh Evans. Those men knew I didn't, or they would have killed me then. They were all armed, but nobody drew a gun. So I left them and I rode back home where my wife and my brother waited for me.
Why did you fight, Bob? Why did you let them make you fight?
I had to, Corey.
Now hold still.
You shouldn't have, Bob. Now they got you Evans dead.
Couldn't help that, Henry.
Hold still.
It's what they've been waiting for, something like this.
Sometimes a man can't sit back.
Sometimes it's smarter to.
A man can't be insulted in the street and sit back. No, I'm not a man for trouble. I came home to live in peace. They started this. I've done nothing that I wasn't pushed into.
The way they're thinking is you kill one of theirs, now they'll kill you if they can.
And that's what they'll try. There's nothing I can do about the way they're thinking. But I'll wait for 'em. As this group of men had been known before to raid ranches for profit, I thought they might ride to mine if they were planning retaliation, however groundless. So I prepared accordingly. I sent my 3 ranch hands to take all the horses, saving 2, into hiding a few miles away. And then at nightfall, with lamps unlighted, and with my wife afforded such protection as possible, my brother and I sat down with our rifles at open windows and waited. Now, these might seem to you, gentlemen, unnecessary precautions, but they would not seem so if you knew this band of cutthroats. However, we were relieved sometime after when we heard 2 horses approach the house, saw 2 men dismount in honesty near the front door.
The Union soldiers. What do they want?
I don't know, but put your rifle aside.
Who is it, Bob?
Union soldiers.
Why have they come here?
We'll find out. Light another lamp, Corey. Evening, men.
We're looking for Bob Lee.
You found him? I'm Bob Lee. What do you want?
Stay here.
I've come to take you to Sherman. I have orders to put you under arrest.
Put me under arrest?
For the murder of Hugh Evans.
That was no murder. It was a fair fight, and I knocked him down, but he died by accident.
You'll have a chance to say all that to my officers at Sherman. You'll come peaceably, won't you, Lee?
Of course I'll come peaceably.
Bob.
The Union Army is a just army, and I'll be treated fairly, Corey. That's more than I can expect from Boren and Beer and the others. Of course I'll go peaceably. In truth, I was anxious to yield myself to arrest, because I knew that by fair trial, no army court could find me guilty of murder. So I surrendered in good faith, believing in right. But I was soon to learn that those 2 men who took me weaponless from my house were not Union troops at all. They were imposters with forged orders, shaming the uniform. And they turned me over to Boren and 10 or a dozen others in Choctaw Bottom, where I was summarily tied to a tree before a fire.
You can say what you want, Lee, but you'll be thanking us before we're done here.
I'll thank the day that sees the end of you, Boren. And you, Sam Beer and Wilson and Maddox, Lewis Peacock, all of you.
You might have seen your last one. Did you ever think of that?
Are you trying to scare me, Maddox? Because you don't. None of you do.
You want to get yourself killed, Lee?
Never mind, Maddox. Don't listen to him. We brought you here to give you a chance to live.
You Give me a chance to live.
That's what I said. Ask the rest of the boys.
Now, what kind of talk is that? To give me a chance to live? You mean you think you hold the right to give anybody a chance to live? You're nothing but filth, all of you.
Filth, is he? I say kill him and be done with it.
Filth! Now, this isn't the time for talk like that, Lee. Some of the boys would just as soon knock your brains out right now.
You don't hear me begging them not to.
Give it to him, boys. No, wait. Wait. We brought him here to give him a chance.
Well, then get it over with.
Now, listen to me, Lee. You want to live, don't you? You got a wife to live for. You're young. Man comes back from a war, he doesn't want to die.
Say what you have to say.
Blair there has a paper we're asking you to sign. If you don't sign it, we'll kill you here and now. Get in the firelight here and read it to him.
This is what those thieves demanded of me in their note. That I sign over to them a bill of sale upon my ranch. The buildings, the cattle and horses, and all other property. And that I promise payable on demand $2,000 in gold. And that I and my family leave the state forever. They threatened to kill me if I did not sign, and also to kill me if I failed to meet the demands. So balancing certain death against probable death in the future, I decided to give them my signature. But I forced myself to suffer their beatings and their insults for 3 long hours, so that they'd get no inkling of a plan that was in my mind. Now, after being released, I thought to set about proving the illegality of the note they held and turn the civil law upon the scoundrels. So in the company of my brother the next morning, I rode into Pilot Grove to inquire about legal counsel. Although we still sought peace, we went armed. I with 2 pistols and a rifle, my brother with 2 pistols. It so happened that I first stopped for information at Nelson's saloon. And in front of there, I saw one of the men from the night before, Jim Maddox. I didn't notice out there if he was armed, but he was not when he followed us in a few minutes later.
There he comes, Bob.
I'm unarmed, Lee.
I'm not starting to play, Maddox. But if you feel like backing up some of the things you said last night, I'll loan you a gun.
I come in to say I was sorry about that. The rest of the boys got me riled up. I sure didn't expect to see you in town this morning.
Well, I'm here. I came in to prove that note I signed isn't worth anything.
Be quiet, Bob.
And you can tell Boren and the others that if you've got enough brains to understand.
That note wasn't my idea, Lee. I didn't have nothing to do with it.
Then we've got nothing to talk about. Goodbye.
You talk too much, Bob.
I can't be driven by anybody.
This isn't a time for pride. You got to let them know. First chance you get, you came out on top last night. That's wrong, Bob. Maddox will get to Boren before...
They wanted me to...
Without a chance to draw, Maddox? That's no...
Bob. Bob. What'd you do, Bob? What'd you do?
Wake up, darling Corey, and go.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Richard Widmark in The Hunting of Bob Lee, tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Folks, winterize right now. Please do. And check those important spark plugs, too.
That's potent and pertinent patter, Johnny Plugcheck. Cold weather is coming fast, and it's not a bit too soon to have the oil and grease changed, antifreeze put in.
And check those spark plugs, too.
Right, Johnny, because when they're right, your chances of starting, even in coldest weather, are better than ever. So visit your Autolite spark plug dealer. His exclusive Autolite plug check indicator will instantly show you if your spark plugs are right for the cold driving days ahead. If cleaning or adjustments are needed, he has the latest equipment to do the job quickly. If replacements are needed, he has resistor type or standard type Autolite spark plugs. They're ignition engineered for smoother performance, quick starts, and gas savings. And used as original factory equipment on many leading makes of our finest cars, trucks, and tractors. So plan now to have your car winterized this week. And remember,
check those spark plugs, too.
Be sure. See your neighborhood Autolite spark plug dealer because from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Richard Widmark in Elliot Lewis's production of The Hunting of Bob Lee, a dramatic report well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Wake up, darling Corey, and
What I am writing you, gentlemen, is the truth. It was a cold-blooded shooting. The bullet entered one side of my face, tearing my cheek and breaking my jawbone. Came out on the other side of my head, just in front of my ear. Maddox left me for dead. And well I might be, had it not been for the timely aid and skill of the late Dr. Pierce, who I mentioned at the beginning. I may add here that this excellent person, later who nursed me in his own home, was later killed by this gang. He was murdered in the presence of his family for the reason that he saved my life. In time, I was well enough to return to my ranch, but my face will always be twisted by scars. My cattle had been stolen, one of my hands had been killed, and the other two, frightened, had sought work elsewhere. The difficulty had become a true feud. My wife had been removed to safety in Hunt County, and I was forced to take up arms myself.
I'll stand with you, whatever you say, Bob. We can't be hounded anymore.
I don't see how it can get any worse. Except for one thing, Henry. Once we start out, we can't come back here.
There's nothing to stay for anyway.
All right, then. We'll pack some food and blankets, ride out late this afternoon. It's sure the ranch is being watched, so we'll ride north, as though we're leaving. Then tonight, when we're clear, we'll cross over the Blackjack, come back the other way.
Where to, Bob?
I made a list, Henry. And I put Jim Maddox at the top. Under him, there's Sam Beer, and William Dixon, and Israel Boren, and Louis Peacock. It was at this time that my brother and I were first called outlaws. That is not now nor never was true. All we wanted was peace, and there was no law and order. We never killed an unarmed man, or never without giving a man a chance. Why, that first night when we got to the Maddox shack, he was alone there with his guns hung up. We could have killed him through the window. This is far enough. I want to go in alone.
I can see how you would.
Yeah, but he might remember my voice. If you knock on his door, and if he asks, you tell him you're John Baldock, that Boren sent you.
All right, Bob.
Step to the side when he opens.
Who's there?
John Baldock. Boren sent me.
All right. Hey, what?
I've come to clear it up with you and me, Maddox.
I'm not armed.
You said that before. You'll put your gun on.
What if I won't?
Then I'll kill you where you stand. Put it on, you'll have a chance to draw. You don't have to watch me. Turn around. Buckle your gun on. Turn around so you can see where it is.
Bob?
It's all right. You tried to draw from where I was hanging. I think this is a night we'll remember, Henry. Sam Beer's next on the list. Then we moved into Jernigan Thicket for safety because Boren and Peacock and the others had enlisted aid from Kansas. Some 30 strong, we were told, hired killers. So we were forced to move by night. All right, Henry?
I'm all right. I look for him on the right side, you on the left.
We'll go in then. Bob, there. Move farther down while we can.
They see us now.
Sam Beer, William Dixon. The Lee brothers have come to clear it up with you and us.
What do you want, Lee?
We want you to stand up from your table and start a play so we won't have to kill you sitting there.
They're going to dump the table.
What are you going to do? Back to the door. You've heard what the Lees have had from these men. If they have any friends here, this is the time to speak up. One day about 12 after that, when my brother and I returned from hunting to the shack in Jernigan Thicket, we were surprised to see Israel Boren waiting for us, unarmed and with his hands in the air.
What does he want?
Hold back, boys. You can see I came of peace.
Then leave in peace, Boren. Whoa there. Hold, stand. Leave, Boren, and come back wearing your gun.
No. Wait, I came in peace.
Whoa there. You've got no right to come in peace.
Bob, can't we hear what...
Henry! Bob! My brother was killed there in the thicket by rifles hidden in the brush. Boren and his hired gunmen took advantage of the fact that we always gave our enemies a chance and lured us in with an unarmed man. I killed Israel Boren after that, and I looked for Peacock, but I couldn't find him. And then I learned he put $1,000 on my head. And more gunmen came to hunt me from Kansas. I moved to Gibson Thicket, then to Thatcher. And there were so many men I could hardly move at all. And then finally, after 3 months, although I'd vowed that I'd die before I ran, I left the county and rode to see my wife.
Oh, Bob, what have they done? What have they done so that we can't be man and wife and live the way we want to live?
It's finished now. I've seen my brother killed, and I've avenged him. I've done what I can. I can't do any more.
There are things to do. There are places we can go. We started in Fannin County. We can start someplace else.
Yes, we can. But I've one more thing I have to do, Carrie. I'll write a letter about this trouble we've had to the newspaper in Bonham. When the people read it, they'll know the truth. That I'm not a criminal. That I wanted peace. And I couldn't have it. And so I say in conclusion that I have done what I can to procure peace. I have been driven farther than most men, I think. And any violence I have done has been justified. And finally, I am still willing to surrender myself to any impartial civil authority at any time, since I know I am right. I'm sorry to take so much of your valuable time in your newspaper space, but a great many people have no idea of the true origin of all this trouble. I remain yours, Robert Lee.
There's no danger here, Bob. Are you sure?
If Peacock had followed, I'd have known. I'm sure, Corey. I'll post a letter, be back in 30 minutes.
Then we can talk about where we'll go.
Well, after 4 months, Corey, I think there should be much to talk about.
Oh, Bob.
You wait in the house.
Please hurry.
I will. You go inside. Come on, boy. Come on.
Wake up, darling Corey, and go get me my gun. I ain't no hand for trouble, but I'll die before I run.
Suspense. A true story of the Old West. Presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. Richard Widmark.
That was a powerful story, Richard Widmark. A Western drama we'll remember for a long time.
Thanks, Harlow. I really enjoyed playing Bob Lee. And may I thank the other members of the cast for their wonderful support. They were a great team.
Reminds me of the Autolite team, Dick, working together for better performance.
Yes, I see what you mean.
Yes, Autolite makes over 400 products for cars, trucks, tractors, planes, and boats. And they're engineered to work together perfectly. Autolite makes a complete line of ignition-engineered spark plugs, both standard and resistor types. Autolite batteries, including the famous Autolite Stay Full. In fact, Autolite makes complete electrical systems. No wonder, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
Next week on Suspense, our star will be Mr. Joseph Cotton, as a man who, in a most unusual fashion, tried to clear himself of the suspicion of murder. A dramatic report we call The Trials of Thomas Shaw. In weeks to come, we shall also present Mr. John Hodiak, Mr. John Lund, and Mr. Frank Lovejoy, all on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Elliot Lewis, with music composed by Lucian Morwick and conducted by Lud Gluskin. Miss Terria Lee was the ballad singer. The Hunting of Bob Lee was based on the book by C.L. Sonicson and was adapted for Suspense by Gil Dowd. Featured in tonight's cast were Kathy Lewis, Lou Krugman, Junius Matthews, William Conrad, Harry Bartell, Byron Kane, and Joseph Kearns.
Tonight's appearance of Mr. Widmark was made possible through the kind permission of 20th Century Fox Studios, whose current release is The Desert Fox, starring James Mason.
And remember, next week on Suspense, Mr. Joseph Cotton, in another story based on actual events, a dramatic report we call The Trials of Thomas Shaw.
For the location of your nearest Autolite spark plug or battery dealer, or your nearest authorized Autolite service station, phone Western Union by number and ask for Operator 25. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
This is the CBS Radio Network.